Well, waiting on YouTube.
Pardon?
There you go. You're live.
All right, welcome to the Thunderbro Show. This is episode 7. We're going to be having a detailed discussion specifically about Final Fantasy VI on, well, I would say the Super Nintendo was the first system or the Super Famicom, but any version is acceptable. I mean, some people may get a little angry about the mobile version, but I mean, hey, if you can get your game on in a specific, or that's the only way you can get your game on, get your game on. Any thoughts? What version are you playing lately, Josh?
Well, six a little bit on the iPad actually. So I have to
Some
ask.
people
I was unaware there was rage against it. Yeah, you'll have to.
only the graphics. They say they're a little cartoony and not dark enough for the style of six and the darkness in its storyline.
Well, I don't know. I personally liked the softer textures in most of the regions. The only thing that frustrated me is because they improved the game. Some places you will get like 60 frames a second, but then you'll go back to other places and you'll get that 30. And I'm like, oh damn you all to hell. That really just upsets me. But no, it's a great game. Auto, I love and hate it. Obviously.
Well, if you use memory, you can kind of set it up to be decent.
Oh no, even no. That's part of my hate. Is it's almost like yeah, let me set my mage to do the same spell every time. This person do the same attack, and it's made grinding super easy, I guess. Which I kind of liked the grind, I guess. But then at the
Well,
same
there's
time,
certain aspects that are going to be very hard, even with auto. Like some monsters are just too fickle.
oh absolutely, absolutely, it is much better to not use auto. And I do find myself yearning for it when I go play Final Fantasy III remake on
Or
DS or
something that doesn't
tablet.
have auto.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, auto is really just thrown into some of those games where the random battles are so frequent that they don't want you to be taken out of the game. And I'm mixed. Sometimes I like it, especially for some of the more grindier parts. But that's the only time I tend to use it is just like, okay, I'm getting Gao's rages and stuff. But all right, we're getting a little ahead. I was gonna say, essentially, for those who have never played six, we're going to be definitely getting into spoilers, but we're gonna try to talk about the game in order. So if it seems like you're like, oh, I didn't make it that far, and I don't want to find out, then just at that point you want to cut it off. Essentially, six was started. Well, a lot of people argue over who the main character is, but Tara Branford, or Tina Branford in the Japanese version, was the very first character in Final Fantasy VI. It was originally a boy, and then they decided to make it a girl because they didn't have a girl main character yet through the original five. And yeah, it started with her essentially going into a town as a terrorist, kind of. And yeah, essentially she went in with two soldiers, Wegs and Bidge. Oh wow, did I just do it again?
Wags and bitch. Yes, you did. You just do it
I did
again.
do it again on the pre recording. I mispronounced their names backwards, and we were laughing about it. But Biggs and Wedge,
But I
the
have
Star Wars heroes.
I have to stop you right there and kind of get the debate going because no, I mean a terrorist, absolutely not. I mean it could be argued they didn't want her there because it's an invading army.
Yeah.
But a
Well, I use a strong
terrorist,
word.
not
I use a
exactly.
strong word, but
But
I
that
mean the goal is you're going in as a three-person squad, which is a small armed force, and going into a town that doesn't want you, running through their city, attacking all their soldiers and defenses to get something you want.
well, absolutely. But that's not. She was just that powerful that it's not terrorism. I mean, wiping out 100 Magitech soldiers herself sounds like it's basically like they went to Estar with 200 Magitech soldiers. So I just don't consider that terrorism per se, just war.
Well, yeah, it is a generalization, especially because of who was funding it and who sent them there. Was it sovereign nation?
If anything, and I mean, I'm in no way. I love Final Fantasy VI and I love all the characters, but to be honest, if anybody's a terrorist here, it's the Returners, which is also getting a little
Uh,
ahead.
yeah. No, I hear you. All right, well, you hold that. Keep going. I have you on my ear. I just got a lighting note, so I'll be right back.
And yeah, well, because they're basically the resistance, and I mean, I'm all for, I guess you could say, resisting that empire. But in the lines of what would technically, I hate it, but Dictionary definition: no, there's not terrorists. They're at war, and they're rebels. They're basically rebels. If you want to go to Star Wars for just 1 second, it's the same kind of situation. They are just rebelling against an empire.
Well, I was going to say, technically, the returners are also funded by another sovereign nation, so it could be, considered proxy war.
Well, hold on. The returners are funded by Figaro. Now, yes, we are jumping ahead, but we're still pretty early. The returners are funded by Figaro, which, from my understanding, every time I've played the game, is clearly a subject of the Empire. Now, they rebel themselves, the whole nation, right there when they take Terra and Locke, which is another character we should get into right now, Locke.
That's the second character introduced.
Yeah, the second character introduced. Kind of a horrible character, in my opinion. Great emotionally, character, but good God, just steal.
You mean to play with?
Yeah, low HP, just steal. Till you get magic.
He has access to a lot of weapons that let you stay in the back row. So, I mean, there is that.
Okay, that's a fair point. That is a fair point.
Side note. And stealing is, there's one of the games that stealing is pretty good. Some Final Fantasy stealing is, totally horrible. 9 was probably the best stealing game that I could think of.
Oh my gosh, yes.
But let's not get into that conversation. But, all right, so Locke is the second character. He comes in and helps Terra as she tries to escape from that situation. Essentially, she's being controlled to do this, and she gets freed from that spell, which is a crown on her head that gets removed, and she starts to regain her memories and has amnesia. And Locke finds her and is like, "Oh, I'll help you." And they wind up meeting the king of Figaro, which was a nation we were just talking about a little bit ago. And they wind up finding out a little bit, or she winds up finding out a little bit more about the situation going on in the world, and that she was involved in some terrible things, and that people want her for essentially magic, which is something nobody's really seen in this world for X years. A lifetime's worth of years, I'm sure.
Well, that's actually a very interesting thing right there. How long do you think it would actually take for these people to forget?
200 years?
Well, why say 200 years? Maybe I'm being outrageous here, but from my understanding, the average lifespan of a Roman citizen back in the day was around 36 years old. When you have people living to 80 and 90, okay, yeah, easily 200 years before people forget, because, you've got a grandfather who was involved in it, whose child who was probably slightly involved in it, whose grandchildren heard stories from both of them, who will also tell them for their whole life. So 80, 160 years, I buy. But in a world that's so ravaged by magic, I have to
fictional,
wonder.
But to compare it to reality, people still refer to magic today in reality in the same way, So even something that there's very little evidence for is still talked about 100% today. So I kind of look at it like that is how it was regarded, maybe as a superstitious thing. And then, because essentially once they escape the Figaro castle, they get attacked by the Empire for betrayal. They claim the Empire rightly claims they're hiding.
They light it on fire. No. The Empire, Kefka comes, lights Figaro on fire, and they're like, fuck you. And they hop on some chocobos, and then they dive the city because, yes, it is a diving submersible city.
Which is really cool.
That can go through a sand tunnel and appear on another side of the planet, which is just the coolest thing ever. And if they ever remake that game, I want to do stuff in that tunnel. Get out of Figaro.
They confirmed they're actually remaking that game.
Oh, really?
Yes. I think 6 and a couple games are getting full remakes, Square Enix is saying, but 6 is next to 7.
I see no reason not to, in my opinion, the low quality that you could remake it and still have fans love it. You know what I mean? It doesn't need to be changed. It just needs to be overhauled, which is what has me scared about 7, but we won't get off into that topic.
Well, yeah, separate podcast. But essentially, at that point, there's an optional scene where if the main character casts magic at the boss battle, the battle stops for a couple minutes, and there's a huge sequence that takes place where 2 other characters are reacting wildly to the fact that she can cast magic. and she's all like, "Oh no, I'm like a freak," kind of thing,
Only if you cast a spell. That is an optional scene.
It's still highly relevant to the game to me.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it is still an optional scene. Some
Of
people may
course,
have never really seen it. Now, tactically wise, it is
it's a smart thing
important.
to do.
Yes, I mean, from the second that you have Terra, I mean, pretty much the start of the game, don't bother, in my opinion. I'm a humble guy. Yeah, right, I'm arrogant as fuck. Do not manually attack with it. Just magic, 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 because until later on.
Unless you're at MP.
And then use a damn. Oh, it's not a tincture anymore, I guess, because they updated the game. It'd be an ether, yeah. Because you will learn magic, and it's the only way you can learn magic until you get your first Magicite, which, in my opinion, is a significant depth into the game.
You learn magic for her by leveling up, and
No,
Celeste.
you learn magic by using magic.
Don't think so.
Yes, I am 99% positive.
We'll let the fans decide, but yeah, I'm
No,
pretty sure you get it by leveling.
I have no problem being wrong, but I am pretty positive you get it by using the magic. Because it's the
Well,
same way that if you say use an Esper or something, I feel like you get one magic on that list, you can keep casting the magic, you'll learn more magic. Like,
with
have
the
Sabin-
Magicite system, once you get Magicite later in the game, it's you start gaining AP or
No,
something, I
yeah,
believe.
Yeah, AP.
And that is what unlocks your magic permanently for those characters that have specific magic. It's kind of like pre-materia system of Final Fantasy VII, but I liked it even better, honestly, because you got to keep the things permanently even
Yeah.
once you pulled the stone away.
Absolutely. And there are some games, I can't think of any off the top of my head, where like you do not get the ability until you've learned it. And that is one thing that's nice about the Espers and the materia. Well, I guess not the materia in general, but you get the magic while you are learning it. You don't have to get to the 100% mark, which is kind of nice.
Exactly.
Because there are some
Now,
other games where you do, and that's just
in comparison to 7, though, it's mobile. The stone carries the power, and you can hand it to different people. So, I mean, there is that. But at the end of the day, I still think that the character development aspect of it was pretty useful because you couldn't really, unless you were like a completionist, you couldn't teach every character every spell.
Oh, sure, you could. It's not difficult. It just takes time.
I mean,
especially and auto, like we were talking in the beginning. I mean,
yeah, but I mean, like it's a feat. Like it's not something you're gonna usually do. You're gonna set somebody up as like a utility mage. Like some of your more physical characters are gonna get some of that utility magic, like haste and that kind of stuff. And then you're gonna give your damage dealers like black magic and stuff and a couple heals. And then you'll have somebody who's like a main healer gets all the good life and all auto raise 3 or re-raise now it's probably called, and stuff like that.
I did it in 13. I mean, I maxed out people who I'd really never use on certain jobs just because they were like absolute crap.
Well, okay, I hear you, but I mean, it's still I'm saying it like if somebody's doing a speed play or even just a normal play, it's not something you're going to traditionally do is teach everybody every single spell.
It's actually kind of something that I hate about 6 and love is the magic system because it just feels wrong. People like Sabin using magic.
But it's really weak. I mean, unless you're giving him really specific armors, it's not going to hit like say Terra.
Not specific
or
armors.
Realm.
Espers as well have level up bonuses, some of them.
Yes, so you can train him a little, but you're not going to train him as high as say a mage.
Oh yeah, you will. I've done it. Yeah, way back in the day. I mean, back probably Final Fantasy 3, Super Nintendo. I was going to say. Hell yeah, man, doing 9999. Sabin magic. So it just kind of feels wrong, which is why I have big love for 9. But see, 6 does it right. There's parts in 6 where it's like separate your team. So it's kind of like, ooh, I will use all these characters. So the fact that they can all become a great magic user is a little frustrating. Whereas in 9, it's kind of like, no, everybody's unique in their own way, but then they never really separate your team.
On that note, you raise a good point. There's 4 spots, and then run and road change and defend. And that's attack, magic, which, as you pointed out, everybody eventually does get access to magic. And then they're a unique ability, an item. Except for one character who can change any slot to be whatever, which is a long conversation late.
Is it any slot?
Yeah, except 2. I don't know if you can change attack.
I thought they just got 2. I thought it was like
they have to have item.
I'm pretty sure they have attack and item, and then you can pick like any of the other characters' abilities. I can't think of the name
Still
right
very,
now.
very powerful. Oh, you know what it is? Now I remember.
Momo.
Mime is attack. There is no attack. It's mime.
There
And
you
then
go.
two. And
There
you
you,
have
yes.
item.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what it is.
Yeah, Momo's
okay,
awesome.
so anyway.
Momo is a great character.
So, one of the last characters you get next to like Umaru and optional.
Yeah, I was gonna say you don't have to. I don't think. And
No,
Mog, I believe you can.
Mog is also optional. Well, you
Yeah.
get him permanent. You get him in the beginning as a temporary character, and then you can get him as a permanent character later.
Or a gold hairpin.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that.
Yeah, let me help this bandit thief who I'm pretty sure I saw in prison at Figaro. But yeah, let me do that. No,
Yeah.
seriously, he is. He's in prison in Figaro, bugging you to let him out.
No, I remember.
At the
I remember.
very
You can
end.
actually let him out if I'm not mistaken, and then he steals a bunch of treasure chests later or something.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, if that's one good thing about the older Final Fantasies. There's some decisions you can make that just punish you. It's like a lot of video games these days. It's like if you click everything, you're going to be rewarded. Like they're like, yeah, search every little inch and click every single thing. And Final Fantasy VI was like, some things are actually going to screw you up a little bit.
Absolutely. Like, oh, you robbed that old woman of 100 gil? Should have given you 10,000 later.
Yeah, exactly. There's like a lot of that kind of stuff. So I really did enjoy that. But that being said, so we're at the point of the game where they go to the Returner, something Josh was talking about earlier, which is the resistance to the Empire. And they meet with Bannon, which is kind of an ironic name now, considering how they wrote that. And, yeah, right? And Bannon's the leader of the Returners. Wow, this is really weird now that I'm thinking about this. And he's actually very kind in the game, and he pleads with Terra to be like, join us, because these guys are destroying everybody and controlling everybody by force, and they're all terrified and nobody can rise up against them. And with your powers, you might be able to give us a chance. So she decides to join them, and then they wind up getting separated. Locke has to go and check on what's going on in the town south of the castle. And then Terra goes on a raft.
Figaro?
Yeah, South Figaro. And then Terra goes with Bannon and Sabin and Edgar at first to go ride out. And I forget where they're going specifically. They're supposed to go to some... Oh, they're going back to Narsh to go talk with the mayor there.
Yes.
Yeah. And so anyway, so when they go on that ride, Sabin gets knocked off by everybody's favorite mid-boss, Ultros, the octopus.
Well, yeah, I mean, but you skipped the what should have been way more drawn out storyline for Sabin that ended in like 5 seconds battle on the mountain.
Oh, wow. You're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
where the heck did Sabin come from?
Yeah,
Oh my
you're
God.
climbing. Yeah, you're climbing
Okay,
the
go ahead.
mountain.
I'll let
there.
you talk about that. I
Well,
jumped.
there's
yeah.
nothing. There's nothing special about it. I mean, you're just climbing the mountain, you know. And
It is special. It actually is his whole intro.
I suppose.
I can't believe I skipped that.
Yeah, when you're being
Go ahead, I'll
shadowed,
let you discuss that.
You're being shadowed the whole time if you pay attention. Like, you will actually see a blacked
but not by
out
Sabin.
character. It sure as hell looks like Sabin, but then yeah, it turns out to be. Oh Lord, I cannot think of his name right now.
Vargas?
Vargas, yeah. And it was his training partner, Sabin's training partner, and the father of his master who taught him, who killed his father. And it really could have been a very beautifully drawn out scene, you know. Could have been brought back later in the game, maybe.
This is where people quit the game, by the way.
But it's
Some
a
people
very-
can't figure out the Street Fighter command that you're supposed to do to win this boss battle, and they stop playing the game completely.
Well, I mean, I guess it's any fighting command, but yeah, it's forward, back, forward, I believe, for pummel.
Yep.
And
Yep, for pummel. You can also use one of the other ones, by the way. I do Lightning Blast or whatever.
I wasn't sure if he'd have it at that level, but that's very interesting.
Yeah,
to
you
know.
have the first three, if I'm not mistaken.
But then yeah, you get
Or a blast.
Sabin, you get Sabin, and then Edgar's all, oh, what the shit is this? Because
My brother.
they're twins, and they have not seen each other in, I don't know,
a long time.
It's really an undisclosed period of time as well.
I imagine it's at least 10 years. Their father died, and long story short, this is something me and Josh talk about a lot, is neither of them wanted to be king. There was a lot of responsibility in the kingdom and a lot of chaos and stuff, and their father was sick. So they flip a coin to see who has to stay and who can go and have a fun life. And Edgar's the one who stays and winds up being the king. And Sabin goes off and trains and is a martial artist. So yeah, there's that. We won't get into that conversation, but that's a fun little thing that we both discuss on a philosophical level from time to time.
I don't know. You're the one. You're the one who continues to stay in the land of origin, and I have repeatedly left
Yeah,
it.
it's true. It's true. I am in the original area we grew up, and then Josh moved out and went adventuring, so it's kind of ironic. But anyway, so moving on from there, what happened with me is they go meet the returners, and then they separate, and then Saban, the character who I completely
Well,
skipped,
Terra
gets
decides.
knocked off.
Terra decides to support the returners because basically, it has just been a ploy. And I mean, whether for the good of all humanity or not, it's basically just been a ploy to get her to the returners to help them because she's the only person with magic, and the Empire is employing basically mechanical magic, and that is why they are going to Narsh. Is the biggest reason because she has magic, and there's an Esper there.
Yeah, and they want to see what's going on with it and
Yeah,
how
and
she survived, and
if
everything else around it dies.
and if they can employ the help of the Esper somehow, which is the ultimate plan here of Bannon. Yeah, aliens land tomorrow, and Bannon's their friend, right? Then it'll become prophetic. But he wants to employ the help of the Espers to combat the Magitech Empire, which is a noble goal. But I mean, ultimately,
Pretty smart idea too, considering.
sure. But it was a scheming plan just to get her there to use her, in my opinion. Like, what are you gonna do? I guess they're at war.
Yeah,
People are
exactly.
dying.
You use what you can, exactly. And it wasn't like they chained her and started torturing her and waterboarding her to get her
Oh
to do
no,
it.
absolutely! It's much better than the slave crown.
Yeah, the slave crown too that the Empire was using to
Which
get her
they
to
had
work
on
with them.
Terra. Exactly, exactly. So I mean, forced slavery, or hey, do you want to help us? Burn those guys who forced slaved you. Well, that's
Yeah,
a
pretty
tough
much.
decision. Let me
Well,
let me
she made it
leave.
seem like it was a tough decision.
Yeah, let me leave the returner hideout dramatically and look to the stars. Yeah, okay, yeah. And then they go
So,
off, and yeah, so Ultros takes out
Ultros, everybody's
Saban.
favorite octopus mid boss, knocks him off the boat.
Yeah.
And
Down
well,
to
actually,
the.
Saban jumps in the boat, off the boat
Oh,
to follow him,
very true, very very true.
and then they get separated. And so there's three separations, and at this point, one of the unique Final Fantasy things that you don't see much of in other games, that you can choose your path. Who do you want to see what's going on with first?
Well, 9, again, is another great game at this. You'll be one place, and oh yeah, quick time event, look over here, and
It keeps track of a lot of different things. So essentially, I usually Terra's my favorite character. So I select her, and it follows her adventure. You're still on the boat and fighting a whole bunch of monsters, and then you wind up getting to Narsh, and you have to sneak in through the back entrance. And yeah, so it's just really short. There's a little security puzzle at the end and whatnot, but you wind up getting into Narsh and talking to the mayor, and then it cuts off. And you can either choose Locke's story, which Josh, or you can talk about Saban's story. Which one do you want to go for?
I mean, Saban's is pretty quick and succinct in my opinion.
Saban's is long, dude.
You think so?
Yes.
Maybe it's just Saban's my favorite character. It seems very
Saban's
quick.
is super duper long. Locke's is quick.
Well, yeah, okay. Well, so apparently MMA abilities, make it so that you don't drown in the river. And, you can fall vast distances on waterfalls. And so he wakes up on the Veld, I believe, or near the Veld. And
Correct. Which is a wildlands, essentially.
he ends up closer to Doma, actually. And he helps Cyan, who is the... I don't know what you'd call Cyan.
You're skipping.
No, you're not.
some.
No, you're not. You can do Cyan first and then go to the Veld with Gao. Yeah,
I
and
think
then,
you have to find Gal because he helps you get the submarine helmet or whatever.
yeah, it's a little underwater helmet, and you go with all three of you. And then once you take the
Oh, that's
submarine
right.
helmet,
You're
you go
right.
down. Yeah.
You're right. You get Cyan's help first.
And I do not know what you would call Cyan, and maybe I'm pronouncing his name wrong.
A samurai.
Don't really. No. But yeah, absolutely. But a lord, maybe, not a king. And because you're at
A
Doma
liege
Castle,
lord, yeah.
you're at Doma Castle, and yeah, it's being assaulted by the Empire.
He's the commander of their army, pretty much.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. I would go with that. The general, more or less. And yeah, it's being assaulted by the Empire. Big surprise. And
But what is a surprise
like a good
is the methods of war.
Oh, well, I mean, video game wise, they're literally just jumping at the wall trying to climb it, and it's laughable.
But then what happens after?
Oh, well, that's after. We have not got there yet. So, Cyan comes out, in true dumbass, in my opinion, samurai-esqueness. Oh, I shall defend the kingdom against 60 million people. And, well, surprisingly, he does just that and doesn't die. So, okay. Hey, buddy. Oh, my
He's
God.
a badass swordsman. Who's not to be fucked with.
So, good old-fashioned Kefka, it's like, like the good asshole he is. Poisons everybody. So, game over for Doma.
Okay, he poisons the water so that everybody, including innocents,
Oh, everybody.
just die.
Oh, yeah, everybody.
Except for Cyan, for some reason,
Everybody.
who just wasn't thirsty.
He was too busy, I think, whooping ass. Is what it was.
Or he had a canteen that wasn't poisoned at the time, maybe.
Yeah, and he's out there whooping ass, and by the time he's done doing his thing, the poison has gotten to its place. And yeah, everybody's dead. The whole
So it was pretty
damn
brutal.
town.
The whole castle, everybody.
So he meets up with Sabin.
His family, he has a
Yeah.
wife and a daughter and a son that are dead, I think.
Yeah. Everybody.
So,
and he sees them, too.
he
That's the
meets with
worst part.
Sabin.
He doesn't even come back to a corpse, They're like still dying when he gets there a little bit, I think. His
We
wife.
could say goodbye then.
Well, a little bit, but I mean, the longest goodbye he got was with the king. I mean, how fuck.
Yeah, right? That's true.
But yeah, so he meets up with Sabin, doesn't got much to live for, and he's like, yeah, sure, I'll help you try and kill these Empire bastards. I mean, in all good art thou serest, Old English, because apparently Doma is England.
Well, I thought Doma was Japan, kind of, but
Well, that's what I thought too, but then he, with all his Gao, Sir Gao, blah, 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 blah. It's just
yeah, I see what you're saying. Well, that was
just-
translation notes too.
very
though.
true, very true.
But at that point, then they find Gao, who's a wild man in the Veld, and he's like a berserker essentially, who can latch to monster types and become like a monster for the rest of the battle.
It's so bad because every time people say Berserker, I think of Jay and Silent Bob. Or maybe it's Mallrats. But there's a Berserker song anyhow. But if you were a smart player, Sabin paid Shadow to come with him to help Cyan.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, which mentions Shadow is the only character you can permanently lose in the game, and the first time the game introduces a true permadeath of a character. There's one in 5 you can lose a character, but that character is replaced by an equally identical character that has all the same stats as the previous character. So it's like a replacement that's equal. Whereas in 6 you can lose Shadow forever. We'll get to that later.
I don't know.
but
I
that's a
think
unique aspect.
I think it's apples and oranges on that one. I mean, yeah, they're both fruit, but they're very different. You only have 4 characters in 5, so you can't really take one away without giving you another character. Whereas in
Exactly.
6, you could whack a character, no problem.
Oh yeah, you won't feel it too much, but Shadow's a very powerful character.
Well, the problem is throw. He has a unique ability, so unless there were 2 characters with that ability and then you whack one of them, yeah, what are you going to do? But yeah, you can permanently lose him. You'll see him laying there. If you've got good vision, I'm colorblind, and those old graphics back in the day, man, he blends in with the floating continent pretty well.
Yeah. So at that point, they all wind up finding a submarine helmet, and that leads them to a port town where they can wind up getting a boat.
It gives them the
Marsh.
vast ability to swim through hundreds, if not thousands of miles of oceans.
And one helmet for 3 guys.
One helmet for 3 guys, because Shadow will guaranteedly leave you at the, I want to say...
Oh, we forgot to mention the
waterfall jump.
Phantom Train.
Well, you haven't got there yet, because what you do is you jump down a waterfall, I believe it is, to get to the Veld, and Shadow will leave you there, and then you'll meet Gao.
Yeah.
But do you take the Shadow Train before?
You can get into the Phantom Train with Shadow. I've
That's
gotten to the
true.
Phantom
Yeah,
Train with Shadow.
you do the
got
Shadow
it
Train.
fast. He only does like 20 or 30 battles or whatever, and then he's out.
I don't know how many battles it is, but just don't screw around. Like, don't grind. And you'll be fine. Just head down for the bridge, head for the Garlean encampment by
You
Doma.
can sense if you're
Pick up
you have
Cyan.
purpose or if you're screwing around.
Pick up Cyan. Head to the Phantom Train, which is before the Veld, actually.
Yes. Well,
Um, yeah,
yes.
yeah. And
Right.
you can recruit a ghost in there. I mean, if you feel like being helped.
Temporarily, you can get a couple.
Well, I mean, but as a fourth, because
Yeah,
you'll have
and a
Shadow.
third and a fourth if you lost Shadow.
Yeah, yeah, you'll have Shadow, and they're kind of crap. But hey,
They can
something.
possess and kill a monster, and then they're dead.
I mean, if you're a hoarder like me, I mean, you have enough things to throw with Shadow at that point.
It's true. Well, you can also buy shurikens
You
for
really,
pretty
really
cheap.
do. I mean, I don't know though. Six as a whole game is really incredible. I mean, you know, because I feel like we're just giving a narration of the game, which in my opinion is pointless. You know, people can go play the game. But it really is. It is a great game. There's incredible story development as the game
Well,
progresses.
let's
you get-
continue at least to the point where the characters meet back up again, so we can get into
Well,
like
that's what I was
the
about to say.
twist.
You get characters up until a very
The end.
decisive point in the game. Not really technical. Well, optionals.
Yeah.
But you get
The
characters
optionals,
up
yes.
until a very important, decisive point in the game, and then you start the game over again. And then certain characters become optional, like certain main characters.
All characters except for 3 become optional.
I think you need to get Locke, and then you need to get Setsar, which is another fabulous character.
you don't have to get. You have to get Setzer. You don't have to get
'Cause-
Locke.
You don't have to get Locke.
Nope.
No?
You get Celeste. You start with Celeste.
Yeah, you start with
have
Celeste.
to get.
Sabin.
You have to get Sabin,
Because you're
and
forced
then you
into
have to
that
get
town.
Setzer.
Yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, and then you can fly to the tower. But good luck with that.
Yeah. Good
Um,
luck. Unless you're like 99 and maxed with all those 3 characters.
Yeah.
There is a challenge thing. A lot of people talk about how you can do it specifically and what
Well,
to do.
and that's why I think it's arguable that Terra is the main character.
Well, oh, you want me to prove it to you?
Well, if
Go
you
and
can-
do it.
if
And
you
then
can-
an Esper form of Terra is the 4th, and clones of her keep replacing it as you die.
Oh, really? Well, there you go then. But I'm just saying that. See, that seems cheap. That seems cheap to me. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, because we gave you this option to not pick up the main character, here you
She
are.
flies in like a superhero at the end.
That's so stupid.
But you should get her because it's a main story point.
Well, okay, but
But I like that you have the option.
Not really. If they're forcing it upon you, it's like
They don't force it upon you though. You can skip a whole
she's
bunch of characters.
literally there. Go to the final battle. You're telling me she is there.
It might be a clone
No,
of her.
no,
It doesn't really specify it's
That
her.
is forced upon. Oh, so that's even shoddier storytelling. So we just got a cloned magical Esper girl that the Empire wanted, and if they could have just cloned her this easily with the technology, why didn't they just clone her 10,000
about
times, make
cloning.
10,000 slave crowns, and then have the best Magitech army ever of cloned Terra Branford? So no, I don't buy that for a second. They just force it upon you because you're a dumbass. Good luck beating Kefka without 4 people, and she is the main character. But the funniest part about that is she's not. They make a woman the main character for the first time. No problems with that. Awesome. She's a great character. But man, this was one of the Final Fantasies where everybody was really a character.
They couldn't really let a woman be the main character the first time.
I guess. Like she had the main storyline. You know, you played as her and the main storyline revolved around her. But my God, it was very Final Fantasy 12, not to get sidetracked. But people, it was a deep story for everybody. Especially if you do, like a good boy, you know, be a good player, get everybody in the post-apocalyptic
Yes.
world. And
The ending is much
Oh,
better
the-
than
the
if you
s-
get everybody,
the
because
story's
everybody helps
incredible.
each other out.
the story's very well. It's Final Fantasy VIII. It's the same way, I believe. I think there's something you can do to get a crappy ending where like they don't find each other, or
Really?
but yeah, there's like a whistle or something in the dark, and when you hear the whistle, you're supposed to hit X, and you get the good ending there. And otherwise, you get like an extra cutscene or something. I feel like I could be wrong.
No, if you're right, I did not know this, and I'm kind of mad. I might have to load up my.
I feel like
Endgame Final Fantasy VIII
like something
scene.
goes black, and then there's a whistle, and you hit X every time. Maybe I'm wrong. But
No,
could
I
be.
mean that's interesting. I'm gonna look into it after. But so essentially,
Oh, maybe it's
at
10
that
I'm
point-
thinking of, actually. Yeah, no, I think it's actually 10
okay,
that I'm
that
thinking
makes more
of.
sense.
You
I
hear
think
a
there was a
whistle,
scene like that in
you
10.
hear a whistle, you hit X at the right time, then you get a bonus cutscene on the far plane or something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. So essentially, like you were saying, you know, you hit a point where you get all these characters. Locke winds up meeting up. He finds Celeste, the character we were just talking about, and they all meet up in town.
Who he just endlessly hits on because he's got
Yes,
massive...
he's a flirt.
No, he's not a flirt at all. Not at all. I think Edgar's a flirt. I think Locke has got like some... I wouldn't call it like post trauma, but he's got some like woman issues from that other girl who got stuck in.
Her name's Rebecca.
I believe so. A magical coma or something, right? Because I believe
she's dead if I'm not mistaken. She was stuck in a burning house.
No, I thought she was in some magical coma and you could save her later.
Yeah, you might be right. Yeah, and you find the seed or whatever, and then she wakes up and then she dies right after or whatever.
Something stupid like that sounds just about right to me.
It was kind of lame. But they need to leave her open, or they need to leave them open for Celeste.
I mean, Celeste the most. He obviously has a crush on. Edgar just kind of hits on everybody, but that goes away quickly. I mean, the game Odyssey, its series is up fairly quickly. I mean, you see your characters laughing, which was another great point about Final Fantasy VI.
The sprite animation.
Yes,
all 16 glorious bits.
It was good enough. It was good enough.
It was much better than anything we'd seen at that. Well, I mean, even 4 didn't really do much of that.
You had face. Yeah, neither did 5.
5 did that one scene where Bartz would just like tap the back of his head, and like make this weird little.
But it was nothing like facial expressions. I mean, you could see widened eyes in 6. They really did well, and it was a great game. And I mean, the opera. I mean, not to sound cold, but that I have no great love for the opera, but oh man,
it was a well done scene.
People love the opera. It was, it's just like, oh, the opera, Final Fantasy VI. I'm like, it's okay. I mean, I love Celeste. She's wonderful. I like her over Terra. I think she has got more character, but that is mostly because Terra's learning as she goes, because for some reason she can magically remember her name right away. But yeah, it just takes forever to remember everything else. Pretty much takes until she turns into an Esper form.
Which I was about to get to. Yeah, so they all meet in Narshe, and they find this Esper, and Terra starts talking to it, and she transforms into what looks like an Esper, and flies up in the sky and reaches through the air to this horrible, like, thief town. And everybody's like, oh, crap, what happened? And then you got to get an airship, and a whole bunch of things happen. You meet a bunch of characters in the opera that Josh was referring to. You get her back. You learn her past. You find out she's a half Esper, half human. And it's very cool. You learn how to learn magic for everybody is by dead Espers. When they die, they become a stone.
Well, let's actually... I don't think that's the truth.
Well, that's what Rama says.
No, that is not what he says.
He says if they're willing, if they die with a willing heart to help.
No, it's not even about the death, okay? It was the key component which Kefka could not get in his magic research, okay? So it's definitely not just dying. It's so much more than dying.
He does eventually figure it out, though.
No, he doesn't. He uses the Warring Dryad and becomes like a god.
Yeah.
He does not get Magicite. Espers do not willingly hand over their power, and the only way to get a Magicite...
But he turns him into Magicite later. Remember? With General Leo and all that? He starts casting the spells and bringing them into himself.
That's very true, which was a very, very, very impressive part. How he was able to do that. Because, right there. This is why this is a part I wanted to talk about. Because it's obviously not a death thing. It's obviously not that they die and they turn into Magicite. Because they would have just figured that out. He's been killing Espers forever and literally dumping them in a garbage bin where you fight Ifrit.
Yeah, they drain their blood and then put their blood into the people, and that's how they learn magic.
And that's how Celeste
has magical powers.
That's how Celeste has magical powers. And that's how... I'm not sure what else they do with the blood. They must render something out of it, make some kind of aether, and that's also how I believe they power the Magitech vehicles.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's just insane because it's like, how did he manage that? Because this is not how they die. They have to willingly give it over. That is some impressive magic Kefka has for already not having Magicite, which is where the most powerful magic in that planet comes from.
He was the first one that they tested on, and apparently they tested like extreme stuff, and that's why he went crazy, kind of like the Joker. That's why he's one of my favorite bad guys. He's like truly evil for the sake of being evil. He doesn't have like a side purpose.
Well,
he wants people just to suffer.
Mean, does it ever actually say that? I don't think it explicitly states.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah. Optional conversation, but yeah, when you go to the capital city, people talking about why Kefka's crazy.
So he tested on himself, basically.
Exactly.
Well, still though, shouldn't I mean Terra should be more powerful than that? Which I guess she is because
She's naturally, yeah,
you
she's
beat
naturally a
Kefka.
magic user.
You beat Kefka in the end. It just
For
I don't
some
know
reason,
if
Realm can cast more powerful magic, but then again, she also has the blue magic blood of the original blue magic people.
yes, but she doesn't can't cast any more powerful magic. Her magic's just more powerful.
Yes, her magic skill is
Yeah.
much higher.
Yeah. Well, same thing with Celeste, Terra. Who else we got there? So many good characters.
Strago. The blue
Strago's
mage,
great at
true blue
magic,
mage.
but I don't see the point with the blue magic. I mean, just learn his blue magic.
It's quite useful.
Yeah, it's
I
kinda
love blue mages.
Oh yeah, blue, and his blue magic was good. That was like one of the last times blue magic was like, hey, guess what, buddy? Fuck you.
Well, they became very
Like-
defensively useful. Like that. After that, blue magic was like, oh, there's some really useful defensive abilities you're going to want to get. But oh yeah, you got to charm or confuse the monster into using it on you.
Yeah. Oh, like 11. 11 was a frustrating blue magic situation. Yeah. You
That was
know,
fun.
6 was great. I like 6. There was a lot of it. You start with one of my favorites, Aqualung.
16 or so. Yeah, Aqualung goes
20,
free.
28, 20 something. I
Aqua
think.
Breath, I think it was called in the later version.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, I think it's like 20 some in 6, 28, 24. It's a decent amount, but it's not too many. It's not too little.
What, MP you mean?
Oh, no. Blue magic abilities. I think
Yeah,
it's
oh
like
yeah. That sounds
28,
about right.
24,
It wasn't
26,
too many.
something like
And then, there was a side quest to get his ultimate one, which I think was like Phantom Train or something. Not Phantom Train.
that.
Something
Shadow
Train.
Flare? Wasn't it a Shadow Flare ability?
I think he does get a level something Shadow Flare, but no, I'm referring to like it's like he's a whole boss side quest thing where he finds his old hunting buddy and he couldn't take on the monster, so you go to get vengeance for him or whatever because he gets
Yeah,
killed. And
that's right. And
then
then
you
he'll
learn
cast
his
the spell.
Mhm.
Yeah. Another great thing, though, is go to...
Grand Cross, I think it was.
I don't even know what you call it. Some like Triangle Island is all I just know it is.
So the Invisible Behemoth.
Yeah, there's an invisible... Yeah, and he'll bring something. He has another ability he uses.
Meteor.
No,
a
no,
bunch
no,
of
no,
times.
no, that'll destroy you. But no. He's got a blue magic he uses, which is really hard to get elsewhere.
I think his name's Energer.
Yeah, but I think the other guy he uses it is like Catobleepus.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like a
Sneeze
if you're
or
bad
something?
if you're bad enough like badass enough to get it, and you can get it there and then run away and then like come back later or something. I forget how
I think
it
you
is.
have to win.
Maybe you do, but if you're badass enough to do it, you can get a certain magic super early, like right after you get Strago, and it is very
true.
very helpful. For the life of me, I can't remember what it is. I do not think it's Sneeze.
Well, speaking of helpful, you can also use a couple of not glitches, but abuses of the magic system to win.
Not anymore.
Like when-
no, you can't anymore. I mean, you can't
Vanish. All magic
Doom.
usually has 100, but maybe not Doom. But more monsters are resistant to Doom, but Vanish makes you 100% hit to magic. So some of the harder to hit magics are still going to hit.
Yeah, but you still can't Doom or X Zone, so it's just. I don't know.
Okay, so they took out that. but
It's a waste.
still.
It's a waste of a spell. I'd sooner have that character curing me of all the ridiculous damage I'm getting dealt of other things now. Now that
You can
it's a-
also berserk. You can also berserk the monster and then vanish yourselves, and they won't be able to hit you.
Can you berserk him? I don't know
Not.
if you
It
can
depends
berserk
on the
him.
monsters. A lot of monsters you can
Yeah,
berserk.
but
though.
well, yeah, no, for your average fight, absolutely. But your average
Not just
fight-
average fights,
You're
bosses too.
Yeah, fine, but your hard bosses and things like that, it's not going to work on. In your average fight, you're just going to auto battle an area of effect attack. Fire 2, which is another thing they changed. 6 used to be one of the good old games where you had Fire 1, Fire 2, Fire 3.
They updated the names.
Yeah, and the first time that was around was in 8.
Hmm?
I'm kind of surprised they stuck with it because I do not remember people taking to it very
That's
well.
in Final Fantasy 1 for Japan. That was what they were called.
Fire 1, Fire 2, Fire 3? Or
No, Firaga.
That's cool. Yeah, I like it that way better. But now they're going into new ones, like for instance, Cure.
Firaja.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, with a J, exactly. I'm like, you sons of bitches.
It's true. So essentially, at some point in the game, the halfway point in the game, you meet the Empire. You're on a floating island. He's taking advantage of the origin of magic as these 3 statues. And he's betrayed by Kefka. Kefka gets it, and Kefka starts destroying the world. You wake up and restart the game, and you can build up your party to try to fight him again. So it's a very large game. It's a great game. I'm assuming if you guys have played it before, it's part of the reason you're listening to this one. If you haven't, I highly suggest you do. Even with all the stuff we've said, it is an outstanding, outstanding game. And as you're playing it, you'll forget a lot of the things we've even talked about. Oh, yeah. And the character development, items, and little dungeon crawling, and what you get, and all the unique weapons like Atma weapon, and I won't even get into all the little nitpicky details, but it is an excellent game. It's one of my favorites, and it was my favorite until Breath of the Wild came out. And that's the long-running number one.
It has all the things that the newer Final Fantasies have, really, in my opinion, that people end up liking, the nitpicky things. Like, for instance, they won't call it Ultima Weapon or Atma Weapon. Like, I think they call it Ultima Weapon now in the remakes instead of Atma Weapon. And that works on its strength is based on your maximum HP in two forms, in what your maximum HP is and if it's full. Nowadays, there's weapons that do the same thing. You've got the Blood Sword, which drains HP from enemies. So, I mean, it's got all the little nifty things that people like about Final Fantasy, but it's also got the freedom. It's got the, I can't stand this character, so never use him then. It's no problem.
Exactly.
It's really not a big deal, you know?
For a lot of people, that's Gao. Or Umaru.
Yeah, Gao's pretty good. Gao is a blue mage in his own way. They kind of have blue magic
Berserker blue mage
separated a little bit. Like, Strago has all of the magical blue magic enemy skills, and Gao has all of the like physical monsters. Attacks.
Well, he just turns into a monster at his levels and stats, and then starts using their abilities as if he's a monster on your team now.
Okay, yes, that is exactly what happens, but I guess more my point is Strago doesn't really get physical attacks. Like, you know how in Final Fantasy XI, not to sidetrack, you will get blue magic that is a melee physical attack.
Yes.
Strago just got magic, really.
Exactly.
And Gao got those other abilities. He'd turn into the monster. He'd use their best attack pretty much repeatedly over and over and over again.
A lot of attacks. Sometimes use a crappy attack.
Oh, not in my opinion. I guess that's how it works. Yeah, you're on like a regular fight and you get the best attack, and then you're on a boss and it's like stone throw or some shit.
Yeah, but essentially the game is just really. You have 4 characters. It's one of the last games to have 4 characters. 9 snuck in 4 characters again. But I miss it.
Yes, 4 was wonderful.
There was a lot of optional content that had all the optional content had rich story, which is something I miss. A lot of times optional content now is just there for the sake of being optional and has no real reward outside of items, which is nice, but not enough.
Here's a fine example, not to sidetrack again, but Final Fantasy 13. I forget what zone it is, but you can walk by this place. And Bismarck there'll be a little cutscene with freaking Bismarck, and it's like, oh sweet, I get to fight this Falsy Bismarck or whatever, woohoo, yeah, no, and they even talk like, oh, he's not happy with us being here. It's like, what kind of side content is that?
Yeah, it's messed up. I think that sometimes you can really nail it, and sometimes you can't. Depends on how you go about it. Some games were better at it than other games, for sure. Now, I don't know exactly, like, I don't want to get too much into the ending and spoilers. I mean, too many endings and spoilers and details at that point. Essentially, you know, there's a climactic battle. It's awesome, and there's a beautiful ending. We would highly encourage you guys to play it. This was a new idea for us that we were trying. We were doing essentially detailed story, or what we like about games, specifically ones we liked a lot. This is our first attempt at that with Final Fantasy VI. You guys should definitely let us know what you think. We want to do some more of these, like Final Fantasy VIII, certain Legend of Zelda games, Metal Gear Solid. We could really get deep and philosophical.
Oh Lord, I love Metal Gear Solid. It's
there's a lot of games that we're very fond of that maybe some of you guys haven't played, or you play the newer iterations, and we could really direct you in the right direction as to how to access those games, or where the easiest way is to, and which ones you would want to try, or which ones you might want to skip. So in Final Fantasy VI's case, there's obviously the original Super Nintendo version. It's in America, it's labeled Final Fantasy III. In Japan, it's still labeled Final Fantasy VI. And then after that, there was a remake made for the PlayStation 1. and that came bundled with Final Fantasy V. It was called Final Fantasy Anthology. And then after that, I believe it was you could get the downloadable content on the PlayStation 3 version. And then there was a Game Boy Advanced version as well.
Yeah. I don't know though. Tablet, man.
Yeah, and then eventually tablet, iOS, and Android.
iOS and Android, and it's probably not on Windows yet. I don't
Steam
think.
has it as well. No, Steam has it as well. Yeah.
And it's an incredible remake. I mean, in my opinion, it really is. It's simple. It's a solid game, though. Oh, and
I will say
one cool thing that I will say about it is the very first. Okay, I may be misspeaking it, but I don't think so. It's the very first Final Fantasy where you would be able to have a secondary controller, even on the Final Fantasy III Super Nintendo version,
and have somebody control the character,
other characters. Yeah. So if you're poor boys like us, if you're poor boys like us, and it's like we got one cartridge and one TV, but you both want to play the game, and it's like, all right, well, fine, I'll control these two characters, and that you don't really like. If I'm better at Sabin's Blitzes anyway, then you'll run the characters around, we'll read the story together, and it was kind of cool.
It was interesting.
It made for an interesting experience then. It would never happen now.
I think you can do that in 4 and 5 as well, but I'm not 100% sure.
You can on the oh my god, brain fart, whatever, but the PlayStation remake. Final Fantasy Chronicles, Final Fantasy Anthology, yes. I can't remember which one it was. You can on that. I don't live in Japan. I've never played the original 5 on Super Nintendo, so I have no clue if you can.
Yeah. I don't remember from trying the downloaded one, but I don't remember honestly. Essentially though, this one is just about we're pretty much I think coming up to an end on our episode about Final Fantasy VI. I think our next one is probably going to be about Final Fantasy VIII. We appreciate everybody who stayed with us this whole episode, and we would like to see if anybody do reviews or anything like that. We're still working on a contest or something like that. I'd like to post something, but since nobody's really posted any reviews or anything yet, it just kind of seems like a moot point. But if you don't want to do it that way in public, you can reach out to us at thunderbroshow@gmail.com. On Twitter, I'm Tony_Carnes, and at Thunderbro is our channel. Josh, I can't remember what your Twitter handle is. If anybody wants to reach out to you directly. At Joshua Fatepool.
Which is just horribly long. I almost want to delete it and make a new one. It's just like...
That might happen. I think you can also change your handle and request it to Twitter, but I'm not 100% on that. I also would say you can go to thunderbroshow.com to see our podcast and other updates and whatnot. And you can also subscribe to us on Apple. That's probably the best place to write a review, actually, from what I'm referring to reviews, because that could get us on the new and noteworthy. We're almost out. I think it's 3 months or 4 months you can try to get on that list. But that would be pretty handy. Anyways, it would be really nice to hear from any of you guys about that stuff. We thank you for the viewers that we've had, and that's been awesome. It's keeping us going, and we're just going to keep going and talking about stuff we're passionate about. Expect to hear some new and exciting news from us. We're going to try to possibly separate the news section from the gaming section. Any other notes, Josh?
No, not really. Just go play Final Fantasy VI.
Absolutely.
It's a good game. It's cheaper than Final Fantasy IX, which is another wonderful one. But
I do have one last point actually I want to mention, and I think this might be a moot point, but obviously a lot of podcasts we're doing this, for free, and a lot of podcasts have sponsors. We would try to keep it, one sponsor maybe, or just keep it real minimal. If it'd be like more than one, it'd be short ads or whatever. But if anybody does want to sponsor us and get an ad, we could definitely discuss that in private. You would want to email us at thunderbroshow.com with a pitch or whatever, whether it be like in the beginning or the middle or at the end or however. And we could discuss that. But we would try to keep it, reasonable. I hate when these people say all these like lies about things. They're just reading off a script. It's like, oh yeah, I wear this underpants, or I eat it every day, or whatever. And it's like, I would try to keep it to things that are...
That bed is so comfortable.
It's the best bed I've ever slept in. It's like, which one is it? You slept in 5 beds in the past 6 months.
My wife and I took our bed and put it in the other room. Yeah. Notice she didn't say which one that was. Ben Shapiro.
Well, everybody's got to get paid, though.
No,
And so
absolutely.
I get that you have to read ads, but at
Yeah.
the same time, I hate how some of them are written like lies.
I have no great problem with people doing what they need to do to make a living, you know?
And we're not expecting this to be our main job. This is definitely a side hustle for sure. And we do enjoy it, but it would be nice to maybe keep up the price of the website and equipment and stuff that we have and whatnot to keep doing it.
I don't know. Personally, I don't even really care about all that.
It's still fun just to get it out there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Exactly. So if nobody hits us up for a while, we're going to still be uploading episodes.
It's
We
easy
did get a
enough.
little sidetracked with that last episode was really long, and then the holiday weekend and everything. In America, it was Memorial Day weekend, so that got us sidetracked.
Absolutely. Well, and yeah, we've been having some home plumbing issues
Technical.
here. Yeah, so it just takes some
Yeah.
time. It's been kind of. But we'll be back up and running here soon enough.
Expect to hear from us about weekly, maybe a little more sometimes, and then expect to hear the news about our separating the news. We're going to be trying to do some solo work just related to the politics and news, and then talk about it together too. But we're not sure exactly the direction we're taking with what that's going to be linked on, or if it's going to be a separate podcast upload. So we will keep you posted on that, though, for sure.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, seriously though, play Final Fantasy VI.
Absolutely.
You know, a lot of these younger people are, oh, it's old graphics, oh, it's this, it's that, it's, well, shut the fuck up and go play Final Fantasy VI.
It's honestly, there's a
great
lot
game.
of indie games out there that have worse graphics that people play, and
Yes.
this is a classic
Yes.
that will keep you occupied for at least 60 hours with an amazing story that makes you question deeper things about society and nations and character relationships and stuff. And it's
Well,
not
and
perfect.
it's also what's inspired any of these. Well, maybe not any, but most of these indie RPGs. You know, if you're playing a 2D,
Exactly.
if you're playing a 2D RPG that came out in 2015, shut up and go play Final Fantasy VI,
It was
because
probably inspired by it.
I can't describe it enough. It's you may hate certain parts, you may love certain parts, but it is worth it. And with that auto battle, oh god.
You get past it quicker.
Yeah, you can get past certain things a lot quicker. Not just because it's like, oh, auto battle, but it's faster. It speeds it up for you, which definitely makes it a bit quicker to progress through the game. And the story is fabulous. The character growth is fabulous. I mean, the optional abilities. There's this thing called a Coliseum, and I won't go too deep into it, but you can go there post like Wrecked World, which is later in the game, and I mean that right there,
ton of people.
that right there will take 20 hours. 25
Yeah, there's
hours.
a lot of great
If
items you can get.
If you want to dump the time into this, it'll be every bit as long as Final Fantasy X.
150? I say you could probably do about
I
150. if you go real slow.
no. I feel like we used to play games slower than we do now. I'd say 100, because I mean people say there's 100 hours in Final Fantasy X, but now you can do everything in that in like 60, 65.
It depends on how quickly you level and if you do it in an efficient way.
Yeah, no. If I was gonna say 150, I'd have to say Final Fantasy 12. Sometimes I feel
Yes,
like that game's
I
endless.
completely
It's
agree.
just oh, there's another Esper secretly I didn't get. What?
What
Zodiac
about
Square?
Final Fantasy 11? Thousands and thousands and thousands of hours.
Well, that's an MMORPG, so it does
of
not
course.
count. I mean, when you hit
14.
login time and it's like 126 days, and you're like,
But
should probably get a
what is it,
life.
$12 for the mobile version or $10 for the PlayStation download version.
I have
and
no
you're getting like
idea.
a good 60 hours of a really classic game that's outstanding.
I have
if you
no
wait till
idea.
Christmas time, it's usually on 50% sale from Square Enix around Christmas, the week of Christmas, or a little before or after. And I always like to load up on any of the ones I'm missing on the different OSs. And yeah, we heavily encourage you guys to play it. Reach out to us. Like I said, our next episode will probably be about Final Fantasy VIII, or if we're going to do a change of pace, probably Metal Gear Solid. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening to us today. We appreciate all the listeners, and we hope to reach out to you soon. Take care, everybody.
Peace out.